Hello, good afternoon. Having issues with our software go live, but Ped is back in the building after illness. He's recovered.
But James isn't.
James isn't. James has now gone down with illness. We had you down as patient zero. Basically, you were ill. Then John Blaine come in and done a 24-hour stream and pretended he wasn't ill, but he was ill. And
You could hear he was ill while he was doing it. Which
he said he had sinuses. Yeah, I think John had like the powering through, and then James has just got worse and worse. So I'm trying to stay last man standing. I've had my ginger shot. But yeah. But you are back. And we are here. It's Monday the 8th of September. So there you go. People very excited in the comments about Aston Villa at the weekend. Were you one of those people who were disappointed it was an international break this weekend because Everton were not playing? Or were you thinking that's a good sign to have a little break and just reset, gives Branthwaite another couple of weeks and all of that stuff?
No, I'm never disappointed by an international break. I like the break for a couple of weeks. Did it come at the right time?
Very rare are we on a 3-game winning streak going into an and definitely not in August either, going into an international break. So
yeah, no, I don't mind. I don't mind the breaks just for what it is, a break. It still is the weirdest. Like, obviously the weirdest break because it is when it comes, but everyone gets excited about the new signings and everything, and then no one gets to see them for 2 weeks, and yeah, it can be a little bit disappointing for some people. But yeah, Branthwaite gets an opportunity, and it looks like Mykolenko gets a couple of weeks. So,
what did you make of the doctor coming up with all of those comments last week? Because we were talking about, I mean, ultimately, Everton pay his wages and he's Everton's player. So.
Would you be surprised if he starts against Villa?
No.
Because I wouldn't be whatsoever. No. I think he, you know...
But I don't know. I mean, he could
I get, you know, you can understand Ukraine saying he's not fit to play for us and being like, having a cob on, but him coming back and playing for Everton wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Football clubs will always do what football clubs need to do, and football players will always do the same as well. If a manager asks them to play, they'll play. So I won't be surprised if he plays against Villa and they're managing it, and Ukraine
I'm happy about it.
No, I'm happy about that.
The only surprising thing for me was how long he played against Mansfield. Wasn't that he played at Wolves, but Mansfield, he went off in the 88th minute, and it was almost like an hour I would have understood and then replacing him. But if the lad said he's fine and he wanted to get through it and then played against Wolves, and he didn't look like he had any ill effects against Wolves, did he? Played the full game, didn't he? And then went off to the Ukraine. Now, if he's still got a little bit of stiffness or whatever, and they've MRI'd him, and it's showing his injuries, not fully recovered, then you have to manage that, don't you? But like you say, it wouldn't surprise you massively if he's available on Saturday. You know, we won't know till Moyes gives his press conference.
Obviously, Asnu played on what night was
Tuesday.
It?
Was last Tuesday.
So he played, didn't he, in the under-21s to try and get that sharpness. So did he know then? Did they know, and that's why they played him in that, or were they going to play him anyway? I don't know, but obviously if he's fit, you'd like to think he would play at left back, because I just don't think there's any point if he was out, Mykolenko was out. I just don't see why you'd put James Garner back into left back.
We had this discussion last week, Thursday it might have been, probably whenever the news broke about, you know, the Ukrainian fella not being happy and all that, and it was like, what do you do at left back? Because Asnu is obviously a left back, so therefore it makes most sense to just play him and sink or swim time.
Yeah.
But then you look at sort of David Moyes looking at it and going, well, James Garner was excellent at left back, and he's experienced and all that. So, and then you've got Anfield coming up, and Asnu and Anfield against Mo Salah and all that. But then he's a young left back, and
how's he ever going to...
He's never going to learn, is he, if he doesn't
how's he ever
play?
going to learn? And, you know, listen, he's come from Bayern Munich, so it's not like he's you know, some schmuck. He's come from Bayern Munich, but I'd like to see... You're going to have to go through a bit of pain, aren't you, with a player like that, which we did with Mykolenko. I just think the balance of the team looks so much better how we've got it now with Garner playing with, you know, with two with Garner and Drewsbury Hall ahead of him. There's a real balance to that. And if you just put Garner back in midfield and you put him in a Boonham in there, to me, I just don't think that makes any sense. So, but as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Mykolenko is starting on Saturday and they just manage him.
Yeah, well, let's hope he is. I mean, at the end of the day, he's our player, isn't he? So he's going to play for us. We pay his wages and he's contracted to us. Yes, it's great playing for you. You sort of, you know, playing international football, but he's with us for most weeks of the season, isn't he? He's not doesn't get let out to go and play for Everton and go back to the Ukraine, or, you know, like all international players. The club comes first and always will. Yeah.
Going back to your original question, though, I mean, just really, that's how unprofessional is that for someone to say things like that?
Cop on, didn't he?
You know, that's there, but to put it on like various social media platforms, that's like a sackable offence. Actually, I mean, it is actually a sackable offence because it's actually doctor-patient confidentiality that Everton Football Club could take him to real task over that. I'm sure there are laws within international football.
Well, there are anyway, and this is why there was a lot of stuff over why Everton weren't happy over the Branthwaite stuff, because it's health records, and, you know, people aren't supposed to know it until everybody agrees that can come out, which is often why some injuries you don't get told about, because everyone needs to be in agreement. That's why you can't be leaking or commenting on players' injuries as such without their consent. So you're right, he could be in, who knows, he could be in a little bit of trouble there, the fella, if Everton choose to go down that route. Yeah. We hadn't spoken since the window shut.
No.
Obviously, Merlin Röhl, so you say his name, came in on deadline day. I mean, Everton had the opportunity and looked like they might take him in January, and then just decided to let it play out for the rest of the season. So it was no surprise whatsoever when they went back in for him in this window. But they got the deal done, albeit late. The announcement again. But in general, first of all, how do you feel about that signing? And in general, how are you with sort of how the window has finished? Because we did say all through the summer, even when it was bugging us, we can only really have a look at it when it's shut. So what are your overriding thoughts on both? Really?
I think Röhl. It's an interesting signing because obviously Moyes has definitely had a target he wanted. And obviously he went for Souček, and Souček's spoken over the weekend, hasn't he, saying, you know, he said no to the offer and West Ham said no for the offer because they're in like a good place together. Don't know what that place is, but
battling relegation.
But that's what they've decided. So, and they've gone for like a carbon copy in many ways. Don't know how it'll work out, but so it's a weird one really, because I think loads of people didn't want Souček and questioned the role and the position. So I don't know how people can get excited about this kid then. If it's the role, I'm like, I see it as an alternative. I think we're well stocked in that position. So what is he going to be? Like he's not 19, he's like 23, isn't he? So he's almost like past the development stage, and he's into like coming into what are seen now as your peak years, like 23 to like 28 are your peak years now. They're not 27 to 30 anymore. So there is like he has to be on it quick. I don't think there's any pressure on him, and that's a real bonus. The same as there's no pressure, I don't think, on Tyler Dibblin right now either. I don't think German football is the best barometer to work with. I don't think there's that many players who've come to the to England and been very successful from the German league. I think it takes time. I think players are physically a lot less. There's a lot less demands, I think, in the Bundesliga. I don't think the players are anywhere near the stature that they are in the Premier League physically. So that's something they're going to have to work on straight away. And it's just how they see him. Where did he see him in that? Is it a case that you can swap out if you think of like a Dyche Gay and go with like him playing in that Decore role or whatever. So it's an interesting signing, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's used and how we move forward with it.
See, Souček for me just made no sense, but he gets on the end of things from midfield. You know, he does nothing in between the two boxes, and that's not really what Everton need.
But that's interesting because that's what Moyes has gone for. So it's just an interesting one in how he was going to be used then, rather than like the player himself. And I think that's where we'll see maybe.
You see, Real is a runner with the ball, very strong, fast runner. Souček can't run, so there's one difference. He hasn't got the goals that Souček's got, Real, so the difference there. But you're right, it'll be interesting. I see him sort of more of filling in for a Dyche again, seeing if he can do that role of he presses really well. Can he go and nick the ball? Can he take us up the pitch a little bit with James Garner protecting? I know he has played defensive midfield, but not loads. But it's up to him. Can he adapt? He's a big, 6'2", 6'3" midfield. Like you say, really good. A couple of years ago, was looking really sharp last season. He had an injury and stuff, and he didn't have a great season last season. But a couple of years ago, when obviously Liverpool watched a lot of him and thought about taking him, I know Slots watched him last season. So he's obviously on people's radars as someone who's an interesting player.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good that he can come in and we're not going, he has to play, what's he going to do? Because I was saying one of the big things about Wolves, for me, was we had a £40 million winger on the bench that didn't get on the pitch, and no one lost their head over it. Everyone just sort of went, oh yeah, and you have to have more.
I think what's really optimistic is that we've got a possible midfield of, you know, Tiernan Abunam, James Garner, who's only 24, Roll being in there as well, Tyler Diblin at his age as well. I mean, that's a, and then you've got Harrison Armstrong to come back as well. I mean, that's a really positive, youthful, positive midfield we've got there for whether we keep them or whether we sell them on, or that makes loads of sense. Having just your hardcore in your midfield, and then suddenly you've turned your team around, haven't you? And you know, you're older. Obviously, a Dyche guy can't go forever, but he's the outlier now, isn't he? Everyone else is under. You know, Jack Grealish is 30. Everyone else is under 30. So
usually us just saying 27.
Just 27 last week, wasn't he? So he's got plenty of time, and he is sort of coming into his peak years because he hasn't been played that much. So.
And he's fantastic at Wolves.
There's so much like youthful optimism in there. And what that does as well is that gives you options to sell as well. That gives you players.
Assets, aren't they?
There's your assets right there. And that's what Everton have done. Have bought someone there in role who's an asset more than anything else, and allows Harrison Armstrong that time to go. And Carlos Alcaraz as well. Let's not forget him.
He's actually brilliant. And, getting better. For me, getting better.
Well, he's what I like about Carlos Alcaraz is like it's just there. It's like there's no, and that's the thing with him as well. You forget about him, like I literally just did. You forget about him because he just feels part of the furniture, and he can just come into the team and he can start games and he can come on off the bench and add energy. And he's another one where you just look at him and think, oh, there's another player who can come in, and suddenly you've got options and you've got potential starting players and you've got potential assets as well. And there's a nice mix in there. And I think that's what we've done really well in this transfer window is turn it round a little bit. And
it's massively turned around.
So in the general sense of the window, I still think still think we're short in areas.
I think the manager would agree.
Would have loved a right back. It's Jacob Brandon the night playing for Ireland. Oh my God. It's in the crosses he was putting in. Oh my God. Fair play to you.
Must have been listening to you, but having to work
pure on Beckham. Some of his crosses, they were really good crosses as well.
He's got it.
I think we could have done with another right back. I think we could have done with moving Nathan Patterson out.
I think he wanted to be moved.
Well, he was. Apparently, he was furious at not moving. I think we could have done with that, and then that frees Jake up to be the other centre back or be another centre back option. Not that Michael Keane's done anything wrong. James Tarkowski, he might have a different story for you. I think that would have been the place, and then maybe another centre forward. Maybe if you're really looking for that ideal window. But I think what has come out of this window is like right back suddenly is moved up, is like the top of your, or that's the net. Well, I believe right back is now the thing where you look at.
But he tried to get Halali, didn't he, out of a Spaniel who's very good, 21.
That's what I'm saying. I think now you look at it and go, Everton have got to work on doing a deal. Doesn't have to be January, could be next summer. But Everton have to look at that long-term right back now. Someone who's going to come in.
I think it might be him.
Who's got a little bit of experience, done a little bit,
pacey,
and can get up and down, and is fast and can get, and that's got to be. I think that's jumped to the top of the list now.
If you look at deadline day, they were trying to convince Hector Fort to come, but he's obviously opted to stay in Spain. He's only 19 anyway, and I think he's the type of right back we'd love. He's a dribbler. He takes people on. Can play anywhere. He can play on the wing, either wing as well. Which but obviously Halali, who's at Espanyol's only 21, I think 21, and he's another one. Very good, great numbers last season in the Liga. So that is a long-term right back. So they have luck. Fort's only 19. Halali's 21. So if Everton are looking at those two and going, they could be our long-term right back, then that's really good.
Yeah.
Me and James done the free transfer thing the other day, because obviously you can still bring free transfers in. And we were looking at, obviously, Tommy Yasu, but he's free, but he's had a terrible, last season he was injured and all that. But he'd only be a short-term option anyway. I know 26 and all that, but smacks a little bit of a Lucas Neal deal for him. Or Reguilon, obviously a left back who's free, who I think he's a decent attacking left back. That was just dependent on the state of Mykolenko's injury. No idea sort of what Miko's injury is, and like you said, it wouldn't be surprising at all if he jogs out to Hill Dickinson on Saturday playing. So, but I thought he was one, Reguilon, where he's played in the Premier League, Spurs, United, Brentford on loan, and he is a good attacking left back. But then the problem is that eats into Asnew's development, then, doesn't it? So you sort of,
it also eats into
and it's
financial
as well. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Everton needs to do it. We were just saying if there was one who you were going to take as a free, probably would have been him, really, because just to give you that balance and then take a little bit of pressure maybe off Asnew development. But I mean, what's really interesting, I think, about January will be Dwight McNeil's position, because I know that it feels like he was looking to get out anyway at the end. He's not getting on the pitch in games now, and he's at an age where the lad will want to play. He's done enough in the Premier League to earn games for people. Yeah. So that'll be interesting what Everton do with him, because if he's not had much game time by January, I wonder if Everton will then be looking, because I was looking at Malik Fofana's comments this morning, which he'd made over the weekend, and he basically said there were two teams really interested, but a concrete offer never came. And it was like one of them supposed to be Everton, so I find that interesting. If Everton maybe just asked Leon how much they wanted and just thought, it's too much, or whatever, but he was sort of hinting he was open to leaving, and he's like, I've just got to get my head down and carry on with what I'm doing. So I just wonder if something like that had come back round the loop in January, if McNeil sort of went out and they got money in and went and got it, because he's another one he's an asset. Comes in and does well. You're making big money on him. By the time January comes, Champions League teams might come by.
No, but it depends where you are, isn't it? But, depends where you are in the league. If you can, Villa were very good at this in the last year. Is looking at the league table, seeing what you've got to do in the second half of the league. I think this was actually where Forest made a bit of a mess of last season. Is if they'd gone big for a couple of players.
They made a mess of this one. The biggest signing the whole summer. They've not even put in the European squad. 2
of them, isn't it? They haven't put 2 of them in.
But Hutchison was the biggest transfer of the summer.
And they haven't put another one in as well that they bought.
Which is a bit odd. I find it a bit odd, but still.
But they never, and it could be up to where Everton are looking and January and saying, right, we're on the shoulder of these European teams, and they're still in Europe, and could we push? Because that's what Villa did, and I think that helped them in Europe. Didn't help them get Europe with the Champions League, but
they should have though, shouldn't they? They should have beat United on the last day.
Well, they were robbed in many ways as well. They were robbed, but so maybe, but we'll have to wait.
Did you find there was something come out, and I know someone had someone in last week who had some information from someone. It's not a bad source, but I'm not going to obviously. And then it come out anyway about how they viewed Tyler Dibbling as a possible centre forward, and this come out the other day is Everton didn't go for another striker because of Dyche and Dibbling. Well, he's thinking Dibbling could play through the middle. Russell Martin said something similar. I said last week, Dave, who was the head coach at Forest's Academy, and Dibbling tore them apart a couple of years ago as a striker. So I wonder if, did you find that interesting, that he sort of looked and gone, well, and Jai can go through the middle, and Dibbling, we look at it as a striker?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, Richarlison was the one we were looking at, thinking, would that be like a multi-use player? Well, then maybe these two could. Obviously, Jai's got a lot more experience, but Dibbling's got the physical presence. I mean, we've seen Anthony Gordon play there recently for Newcastle, even though he's been dreadful. And what is that Barnett lad? You're gonna look back in a few years, going, "What was I doing? What was I doing with that haircut?" He looks like someone you bump into in Grand Theft Auto, doesn't he?
Oh, he's a shocker.
When you're just like out in the hills and you just, get off my land.
I'd almost say sometimes Red Dead as well.
Maybe, yeah. Just the fella you just find naked in a field. He just chases you. What a game. So, yeah, I mean, listen, physically, got the attributes, yeah. It's whether you've just got the nous, but these players, it's like, they're so good on the ball now that it's have you got the instincts? Have you got those instincts?
That's the ultimate one, isn't it? Just quickly, congratulations to Everton women who won 4-1 at Anfield yesterday. No, there's a few in the comments.
No, it's just the what? Like, imagine
going to Anfield.
Imagine going on your debut and scoring a hat-trick. First person to play for Everton to score a hat-trick at Anfield since Dixie Dean.
1931.
Even when the Red Chris stopped me, he was like, I went. It was like, these were absolutely amazing. Fair play.
Carl Byron says, when do we integrate Dibbling into the side? 42 million wasted on the bench. It's not wasted, and it wasn't 42 million either. Moyes needs to find a way to get him involved.
Why does he?
No.
Why does he?
Yeah.
We've got to start open.
I don't agree with that, Carl.
No, why? We've just won like 3 games in a week. Why do we need to force a player into the team? Surely he has to force his way into the team. What we've bought is young potential, and it's up to him to force his way into the team. It's not up to. This is not how like teams work, like teams with loads of players. It's up to those players to force their way into it. But David Moyes doesn't even have to say anything to any of these players. He watches them train, and they have to impress him. It's not the other way around. You don't go with a begging bowl to a player going, "Oh, can you play for me this week?" Everton are starting to create a squad And that's how it works, isn't it? At every squad.
Wasn't 42 million either, by the way. 35 million. To get to 40, he's got to do some stuff. But I don't worry about anybody.
No.
The thing is, if he was on the bench and we were losing every week and he wasn't getting on, then you've got a case to moan about it. But no one's got a case. He come on for half an hour against Mansfield. He was all right. Some nice touches. He didn't set the world alight, did he? In fact, he was very safe. And we went to Wolves and we were brilliant. So who would you have brought him on for at Wolves? Grealish. Well, Grealish ran the game.
It's very early.
And Dyche was absolutely sensational. So why would you have gone for him to bring him on?
Very early as well. We've got like, in a couple of weeks we've got 3 games in a week with Wolves in the Carabao Cup, and before you know it, we'll be into December where we will have a game every 3 days, and
we'll get games.
Of course. Then we've got the African nations coming up, and Jai and Ghana going, and possibly Asnu, and the next. Then football can change very, very quickly. So
everyone would lose their head if Jai was left out or Grealish.
Yeah.
So where's he going to play? You've got to. Them lads train every day. The manager sees them every single day, and it's up to them to impress him every day, isn't it? So Dibbling. The other thing as well is he's just moved up from Southampton. The last time he moved from Southampton, he went, albeit it was a few years ago, but he moved to Chelsea, and he lasted 2 months because he was homesick, and Southampton took him back. So let him just find his feet. He's come for a big fee. Just let him integrate. This is why the likes of them over there have done it well in the past with younger players. There's been no rush to get them in the team, and they've just put them in the team, and there's no pressure. We put Dibbling in for a couple of weeks, and he doesn't do well. Our fans will start saying he's not good enough and a waste of money. And some have already started with Tierno Barry, even though he's been really good, and you've had top class people talking about him, Thierry Henry for one. Louis Shahar was saying he's been brilliant, and yet some of our fans think he's terrible. So let him just find his feet. The manager is a top class manager. David Moyes' record, he's had 22 games since he come back, won 10, drawn 7, lost 5. I think we can trust him. The other fella, not so much. Moyes, I think we can trust him. So just let's see what happens. Tyler Dibbling will get in when he deserves to get in, and then it's up to him to take it then. Change your boots as well. Might be a start. But no, let's just let it play. This is what a squad is. This is what I wanted Bakwa brought in as well. And he'd have been even further down the pecking order, but it's a squad. It's a squad game. And so when it invariably doesn't work for Grealish for a couple of games, because that's football, you can mix it. Same with Jai, and Jai will go off the boil a little bit at some stage this season. He did last season. Still brilliant, but there was games where he just wasn't on it, but we had no one. So you want to be able to mix and match, keep everybody fresh. Wouldn't it be lovely?
Also, it's a squad game.
No, that's it.
It's a squad game within a game now. You've got to use. Look at the Leeds game and the Wolves game. Where it started to get wobbly was when they made mass. Well, Leeds, they made mass subs, and they weren't even good subs, but it changed the direction of the game.
They fit, man.
And that's how they won it. Wolves done the same. We brought some fresh legs on, and we didn't, and it just changed.
Well, our problem was, when Wolves brought fresh legs on, we changed a totally different player. We took a Drishagana game, put Tim Irabunam on, and then there was just the big hole behind him, because Tim wants to play forward. The problem with Tim, he wants to go forward. That was the issue. And maybe that's where Merlin Roll can go and sit in, and it won't cause an issue. But Dibbling, if Njai wasn't having so much joy at Wolves and Grealish, Dibbling probably would have been brought on. But they were every time them two got it, they couldn't get near it, could they? Especially Grealish. So I just relax with it. That's all. It's up to him. He'll get in. He'll get his games, and then he's got to produce. Then when he gets his games, I think he'll be fine. Rod says the game's more than just 1-11 now. We need to be careful, not burn them out. Our record with young players isn't good. Dom says Dibbling's a young man, can't rush him into such a big club and big situation. It's working at the minute. There's no need to rush the lad. Wayne says, will Grealish get his first goal against Villa?
Hopefully. Let's hope. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Jack Lad says, with a squad like this, it's going to be very rarely. Players are going to have bad games. No one wants to get replaced. But that's it. You're gonna move it, aren't you? You're gonna.
I wouldn't go that far to say people won't have bad games, because people will always have bad games.
You're gonna be able to move people around, aren't you? That's the way it is.
But it's the point of looking at the bench and seeing there's options available, and you know, hopefully Saturday we have a strong bench. And we can make those changes, and it, you know, you're taking players off, bringing players on who are equally as competent when they get on there. So
that's Tazil says, if Dibbling did get his chance on Saturday, who does he replace then? Because the last game, the two wide men were brilliant. One created 2 goals, the other one scored his second goal in 2 games and caused havoc every time he got the ball. Yeah. So I thought I just, and you couldn't take out Dewsbury Hall, could you?
I've said this quite consistently over many years, is that Everton fans don't know how to deal with Everton having a squad. It's something that we as a fan base have never had the luxury of. So it's always who's in the 11, who's you drop, who'd you drop. Well, you know, who'd you take out, and that sort of like, that's embedded in our fan base.
Because we've had to.
No, I know, but it really is embedded. Yeah. And now that you've got 5 subs, and as you see teams, you only have to go back a year when we played Bournemouth, when they beat us, and they were 2-0 down, and they brought on 5 subs, and then 5 subs destroyed us.
Because we didn't.
And we had a manager who we'll come on to in a moment. We had a manager who was old-fashioned, who did not have a clue. Because that's the other side of when, that's the other side. I think that's the side of the things where people get worried about Moyes, about where managers have been in the game for so long, and they get so rooted to their ideas that they can't change. And that's where new managers, younger managers who are coming into the game understand how to use subs, and how sometimes freshness is better than quality almost. It's just you throw on fresh legs, they start running at people who are knackered, and I think we saw that last year. I think it was Seamus, wasn't he? He was playing right back, and suddenly,
especially when they put 2 left wingers.
Well, exactly, and suddenly you've got all this young, hungry, quick, fresh talent on the pitch, and the last 10 minutes, Bournemouth absolutely destroyed us. And we've got to have the same mindset of there's players on the bench and they're going to be used. Wolves. The problem with Wolves is like you're right. We didn't have anyone for Idrissa, and we didn't have anyone for Idrissa. So it's about getting like for like, so you can change those positions and go, I'm going to put that. If Wolves hadn't have scored when they scored, it would have been, we would have seen more subs come on. Jack Grealish probably would have gone off earlier, but the manager has to trust what he's got. So that's where he's a little bit like old fashioned in that sort of thing.
But I think they're all like Pep. I don't think Pep's got a clue now.
Yeah, Pep's finished. Yeah.
Pep's
on the beach.
He's done the greatest.
You've got to now be prepared to put 5 subs on, you know, or whatever it is. You bring on 3, then another 2. Confidence in the players you're bringing on. Confidence that you're not going to get you're not saving one for an injury or something. And that's where younger managers now have that like belief of like, let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. And that's why it's becoming harder and harder and harder, and games are getting so tough. And you've got to have that mindset. Can't leave players sitting on the bench. You just can't. You've got to get them on the pitch. And that's where, as a fan, you've got to trust that the manager is prepared to do that. And then, you know, if you might look at it and go, he's had a great game, and the manager might go, yeah, but the next game he's still looking a little bit leggy. So we'll throw on the lad who's been on the bench, and he goes and sits on the bench, and that's modern day football, isn't it? And we just haven't had any of that. We haven't had any of that, because our bench has had, well, even the start of this season, Leeds, we had 2 goalkeepers, 2 kids who were never getting on. So there's 4. Seamus, sort of 5, and then you look at the ones remaining, and you're like, you've only got like maybe 3 subs out of it, and that's the way it panned out.
Carl's just said about, you can hear the fear in his voice because of like what happened with Lookman and all that, but that was a long time ago, and that was up to Lookman. Did have some opportunities, by the way. He didn't take them, did he? And different managers.
But that's also about integrating players off the pitch. That's about getting it right off the pitch more times than not. That's about getting someone up to your club, looking after them, giving them the time to find a house, you know, integrate into the team, integrate with people they know, making sure you get all that right, so every day they come to training and they feel part of the lads, part of the, you know, the fabric of the football club. With Lookman, we got that wrong.
Yeah.
We as a football club got that wrong. And he was a sort of quiet, introvert lad as well, you know, and it never played out. We got it wrong with Moise Keane as well. He was too young. We put him maybe somewhere away from the foot.
COVID did,
and then COVID as well. I was going to come on, and COVID as well. So, but also not having that pressure on someone from day one, where it's like you must do this. It's all right saying he must play, but then if he must play, he must deliver, and that becomes a pressure. That's difficult for a lad that young. He said no pressure at Southampton. No pressure.
No, they were getting beaten. No one cared as long as he went on a dribble and run. So, TC Lid says some of our fans are mad. How are we ever having this conversation about having a player of his talent on the bench? It's mad.
But it's what I've
got to get a few of them on the bench. So there's a real
It's funny though. What is funny though is we're having a conversation about a lad who's 19, and we're not having this conversation about a lad who was the German under-21s captain, who's older, who should be further along in his career, who should be knocking on the door in terms of like what he's done in terms of his age and stuff. And we're not having that the conversation is about a 19-year-old, and that I think again that's a thing of like what are we worried about? Do we think someone's going to come along and take him off us 2 minutes into him signing for Everton Football Club? That's not how it works.
No. Gary Waters Hardy. Jake says only 5 more days till we see Grealish play footy again. Correct, isn't it? Blue Jay says can't wait to get back to the Hill Dickinson on Saturday. The international break has bored the arse off me. One positive from it though, congratulations to Everton women who hammered the Reds at Anfield yesterday. Mark Mack says I watched Isaac Price yesterday for Northern Ireland. He's developing into a good player. Maybe one to watch out for and try and get back one day.
Yeah, but he's another one, isn't he? He's another one that we didn't look after. And there was promises, we believe. And the lad, fair play to him, the lad just went, I'm going. If you're not going to give me a game of footy.
But he's also had 2 years in Belgium developing, which he'd never got here. So he'd have had to, we should have got him on a new contract after America and put him on loan instead of keeping him and not using him. If you keep him, we would have had to play him. He was never going to play. That should have gone on loan.
I've said this. We've said this before, and I'll say it again. The Friedkins should be buying a football club in Belgium or Spain.
Get a Spanish.
Or pump money into the one you've already got in France and get that up to the top division. And when we have players, start sending them out to these places. Because if you're going to have a multi-club, if you've got all that money, you're going to have a multi-club. Make the multi-club work for Roma and make it work for Everton. So we do not lose these players. So the players that are currently playing, that the kid we've brought in from Charlton, the kid we brought in from Wimbledon last year, you know, the lads we've brought in from Ireland and from Scotland, and all, they have somewhere to go. You know, Harrison Armstrong. Okay, Preston's a really good place for them, but have somewhere these players can go. And someone like Price, you send them there for 2 years and he's your player, and then you bring him. Look what Chelsea are doing. Whether we like it or not, they are using every tool at their disposal to get around PSR and I'm not being funny, but buying one of these clubs would make more long-term financial sense than having to do what we're having to do. It takes the pressure takes the prep, but it also gives you somewhere where you can put a player and develop them. And who knows if Everton, if Michele had done that 8 years ago, we would have a place for the Luchmans. We would have a place for the Isaac Prices of the world who needed a little bit more time to develop and come through.
He was just candy own, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I think.
They're in
like
the fourth.
Saying if you put some serious money into them,
get them.
Look at like Paris FC. They were nowhere, and they've gone into the top. You know, they'll have a derby with PSG, and there was no other Paris team like in now Paris FC, and they've got stadium. I think the stadium's not that far apart.
Yeah.
But why not put some money into them and start and go right? That's easier to get them to the top division in France than it will be to buy another club and go through all the problems with that. So
they could buy a Spanish team. No, there's quite a few up for buttons.
Yeah,
like relative buttons. I mean, Toffee at only 100 million or something. You know, there's all of those kind of teams, and then they're in the least you're getting there is sort of the second division of La Liga, and you get like someone like Las Palmas who've just been relegated. They'll probably come back up again, but they're apparently you can buy into them. Take much to get them back up, and then they're playing top leagues, Real Madrid and Barca's and stuff, and those players are playing in a top league then, aren't they? So Mark Mack says Toffee TV with the worst injury crisis than the Rafa Everton stint. Blue Keeley says would have liked to have played Villa while they were down and we were flying high.
It's life, isn't it?
Aren't they? What? Hang on. Isn't that the situation?
I think it's because they bought a couple of players, or they brought in a couple of players. But
Onana's out, isn't he? And Kamara's out. So, they brought in Jadon Sancho. When we mentioned him on here, everyone was like, not a chance. So, you can't be terrified of him. And who else have they got? Oh, they got Harvey Elliott.
And
he's got a lovely left foot.
Victor Lindelof.
Yeah, but he's another one.
No, I'm just saying he's brought in.
Fallen off when we was linked with Everton. So, doesn't matter about other clubs, does it? It's up to us. We go out and play like we had the last couple of games. We would beat them. So it's about time we beat them as well. So Benjamin says, ladies against girls yesterday, they can stick their first £1 million player. Okay, what a debut.
They didn't buy a play for £1 million, did they? I thought it was Arsenal who bought him.
Don't know.
Does that, I mean, whether you watch it or not, does that give you sort of like confidence? Because in terms of like what they're doing with the women's team, I mean, some are investing in something. They've invested heavily in that. They've gone out and got some good players in. You know, whether people are interested in the women's game or not, they really grabbed hold of that, haven't they? And said, we're going to do something with that. Obviously, staying at Goodison in the first.
Probably easier to
no, it probably
have
is
success at that level, isn't it? Than what it is.
But in terms of,
it's good though, because everything was getting stripped back, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, they were getting destroyed.
They got destroyed for the couple of years, and that was I think what it is it's just an indication of the health of where the club is. I know it's a separate club now, isn't it? But where the ownership group are, if you like, it's an indication of the health there with that, isn't it? And they're bringing players in, and they've brought in lots. Even brought one in the other day, didn't he, as well? So they've brought some great players in over the window, and they've started off tremendously well, haven't they? With a great win there. So
I think it's promising, isn't it? Because they did from day one. They said they were going to invest in the women's team, and obviously they've understood. Again, they've understood the situation of how can we maximise this, but also to help the whole club, making it a separate entity, selling Goodison, doing it in the right way, and that gives me hope that they will look around and think, what is the best practice now? What is the best way of getting what we need for, obviously, Roma and Everton obviously run a separate football clubs, but to have that other club that can function to help both, because that would make, to have two clubs at the top makes sense to have another club that both of them can feed into and use, and I really hope that that's the way they look, because I think that's even just for assets, and we've seen you only have to see what Chelsea are doing. I mean, whether we, as I said, whether we agree with it, whether we don't agree with it, they are They are using that model.
John Blaine said on Business with Blaine the other day, a lot of people were complaining about Chelsea, but he was like, whether we like it or not, they're not doing anything illegal.
No.
So what they're doing is using every percent they can use. Now, until someone closes the loophole and goes, you can't do that anymore, why wouldn't you do it? So you're right, if Everton or if the Friedkins were buying Toffee, just use them because a couple of teams were looking at them. We're buying them and we're going to, not park players, but some promising players that we have at Roma and some promising players that we have at Everton are going to go into that squad. It's up to them then to play. We're not saying to a manager there, these have to play 20 games, but go into that squad and develop there. Then that's going to benefit everybody. Toffee get some players, Everton and Roma get the opportunity for these players to develop. Then you can make a decision. Are they good enough to play in Serie A? Are they good enough to play in the Premier League? Well, they've boosted the value because they've been playing, let's just say it's Getafe. They've been playing for Getafe in La Liga or whatever. So people have seen them and gone, they're not a bad player, is he? He's not. And then you make money from that. It boosts that club. So it would, and they would, just the way that you look at them kinds of clubs, or if you bought a Las Palmas or someone, quite clearly they're not thinking they're going above Everton and Roma. They're just not because of the size of the club. But it means the club would be healthy and you could use the players. And that, because it's unlikely that Everton are going to go and take players off Roma unless the lad wants to leave. See, what the arrangement should be is if either club has an interest in that player who wants to leave his club, they should be kept up to date with it.
Yeah,
so
sure
say Manu Kone, who I want at Everton, if he's to leave Roma, then Everton should be allowed to go and buy him. Should be given the first dibs almost. Now, the player might go, I don't want to go to Everton, that's fine. But the same at Roma, if Everton had, I don't know, if Everton was selling one of our, in Dyche, say, for argument's sake, and Roma...
Dwight McNeil be bossing Italy.
Dwight McNeil, whoever it may be, right? Everton are prepared to sell him, or the lad wants something different, then they should be able to go and buy him, that's fine. But I think we're not going to use each other in a way of let's develop players. So therefore, let's get that up.
No, because the owners are not... We've got the two teams... They're fighting for the same thing in their leagues, basically, you know, when we're at our best. So we're fighting for the same things. There's never going to be, and I don't think there should ever be, a hierarchy, because you just have all these Roma fans knocking on your door, literally, and then very unhappy Everton fans, and you should keep them as separate entities. But even if you bought another club as well, just going back to the women's team as well, if that team's got a women's team as well, that would help out. It all, you know, it just makes...
If you're strengthening what you want to do, then it makes a lot of sense. And for relative, compared to what they've paid for Everton and compared to what they've paid for Roma, you can get a La Liga club. But you know, it even seems like Real Zaragoza, who were in the La Liga for years and, you know, gone down and come. They're available for not that much money now because there's all of these clubs are looking for security. So, and they're well supported clubs. So it does sort of make sense. I don't know whether they do it, but it does make sense. And then it would obviously aid. We're only looking at us right now. It'd aid Roma as well, but it'd aid us, wouldn't it?
And they're looking for, I mean, obviously the Friedkin groups tried to buy one of the basketball teams, wasn't it? And I think it was something like 6 billion, or something like that. It ended up being, obviously, it wouldn't have been there 6 billion, but they were part of it. And there's been talk that they're looking at buying another sports team or franchise in America. It would just make sense if they did it.
Benji says the first time in years I've been disappointed about an international break. And Glenn says 100%. I'm actually looking forward to the next game in September. Feels like I'm taking crazy pills. Derek says, afternoon, gents. I'm probably in the minority here, but I don't give a flying one about the national team. I don't think you're in the minority. No. Saturday, didn't watch, not even the highlights. Same goes for Tuesday. The only thing I like about international ball was to relieve the doom and gloom of Dyche.
Well, what about Dyche? So Dyche made some comments yesterday. I think it might have been on a radio station, I'm not sure, but obviously we're coming up to the annual time of the year. You know, everyone loves it, sacking season.
Oh yeah.
And you know, you got as a manager, you've got to put yourself in the, you know, in the media and start talking about what you've done well. So he went on there and basically said that the players, well, he mentioned Jack Grealish and Dewsbury Hall as 2 players that he tried to sign at Everton last year, but for whatever reason, financial probably, he didn't have a chance of signing them. So, like, almost like saying, look, I'm also a good manager. I know what good players are like, but we just didn't have the money. Roney and Stoney didn't have any money. So he's just doing what, every out-of-work manager does at this time of year. I think I was on the other day on something. O'Neill saying he's watched, since he left Wolves, he's watched every minute of every Premier League game. Which that's, I mean, I don't know why you're doing that, because there's highlights out there, mate. As in, like, that was some kind of credential for why he should be a manager. He hasn't missed anything. He's kept his eye on the ball and he's been watching everything.
That's what they have to do. That's the sales pitch, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, I wouldn't believe Sean Dyche if he told me it was Monday. So it is what it is. But he has to do it, doesn't he? Those players would not have come to Everton.
No, clearly they didn't.
Well, they wouldn't anyway. Even if everything was lined up, they wouldn't. I still can't get over Alanga pissing himself when Dyche decided to get him to come to Everton to play for that style of football. So it is what it is. I'm sure Sean Dyche knows a good footballer. He's worked in it for long enough. That's fine. But I'm sure he does. But it's whether or not you're gonna use them, aren't you? But they're just doing their sales pitch. That they sound great. Sam Allardyce is fantastic at it. If you listen to him, you're thinking, why isn't he managing? Yeah. So, because obviously they really understand the game. Of course they do. And they've got wins. And Dyche has done a decent job, certainly for Burnley, for, whatever you think for Everton. I personally don't think he did a good job, but others do. But he done a really good job on a limited budget for Burnley. Kept them up. So these people, Rafa Benitez, you don't want them at your club, but they all know good footballers because they've been in the game. Gary O'Neill looks like a decent coach. But
go and be a coach.
So now he's trying to get... Well, the mad thing with him is he was getting considered to go to United, wasn't he? As a coach when he was at Wolves, you remember? Which I thought was a bit mad, but we'll see. But yeah, so Gary O'Neill will be doing this, and I'm sure there'll be others who are out there saying all the right things, so that when the next opportunity comes up,
they come on Monday Night Football and give you the masterclass.
No, but that's it, isn't it? And we've seen that over the years, haven't we? That they do it, and that's fair play. That's what you should do, because you should be trying to show people if you want to get back in. That's sometimes the only way to get back in. Football's very difficult if you go quiet. If you leave a club and go quiet, you're quickly forgotten.
Yeah. And
that's why, you'd either become a pundit and you're happy being a pundit.
Get yourself a podcast.
Do a podcast. Or you do have to put yourself everywhere so that you're not forgotten. Rightly or wrongly. It should come down to more than that, but we know what football's like. Often it doesn't.
No, you're quickly forgotten, aren't you? Quickly forgotten, and
so he's got to keep himself sort of relevant. Gary O'Neill's got to keep... I'm sure he'll go on Monday Night Football soon and get the tactics board out and all that, which is what you've got to do. You've got to show people that you're listening, you're doing the business, I mean, he should be going everywhere, shouldn't he? Just learning, spending some time with different clubs, which is what a lot of them do. And that's exactly what you should be doing, because you might be picking up stuff that you're just missing slightly, but you want to keep yourself refreshed. Certainly Eddie Howe's done that in the past, hasn't he? Gone.
Well, you've got to decide, or you've got to go the other way and go, this probably isn't going to happen. Like, maybe like Wayne's done, and commit to doing something else, commit to the media.
Yeah, I mean, funny you mentioned Wayne. Someone said there, would he be a good choice to come in as a striker coach at Everton a couple of days a week? Well, this is something we've said, and maybe that is a way for him to get back in, if he truly wants to get back in, doing a little bit of sort of specialised work. He knows how to finish, the kid. United's all-time record goal scorer. It was England's, so recently. So it'd be a good move for Moyes to get him in and do some work with Beto and Barry and all the others, maybe. Yeah, if that was, I don't know whether David Moyes is considering something like that, but why not? Why not? Sean Duffy says Dyche made me laugh, saying he tried to sign Grealish and KDH. Mike Raff says, question for Ped, please. I've just got 3 black 95 retro tops. Is there any way I can get the Umbro logo put on it?
Yeah. So you've got the blacked out kit.
It's just the black.
Yeah, the blacked out 95 kit. Yeah, Rich on Twitter. Go on eBay. There's loads of places you can get them. You can get. I'm gonna do some videos soon on them because I've got a few that need to be done. So I'm gonna do some videos on them. Rich is gonna record. I spoke to Rich ages ago. I need to get this sorted. But Rich is gonna record. So R Wilkinson 007 on Twitter. He specialises in, but you can just go on like eBay and buy like it's whether you can get the ones you want. But he will do them. He does all kinds. His stuff is unbelievable. He'll take a blank footy kit like he did with the goalie kit we got and like turn it into something amazing. In fact, I've got the blank 95 goalkeeper kit. Just the blank, and he's going to get it. He's going to do it all for me. Do it properly with Southall on the back and everything. So that's the place to go if you ever need. So R Wilkinson 007 on Twitter, and he'll do all that for you. But as I said, I'm going to do a video soon of him doing quite a few bits for me. So he put the Umbro on that one. He done the Umbro on that one. So in fact, I was going to get this without the sponsor and get him to put NEC on it. Because I think that would look cool. There you go.
Kev Maloney says our bench is more offence if we're down or tired. We have goals there. I'm not sure we have players. The manager is comfortable seeing a game out. Jay says Dyche doesn't seem to understand the players he wanted, simply didn't want to play for them. And as for a lot of the same players are still there goes. The difference is they're not being coached to welly the ball 100 yards to an isolated striker with zero support. Onwards and yeah, you see, if he's making comments like that, he's making himself look stupid, isn't he? Really, I'd leave it now if I was.
I think for him though, what it is it's a one-sided conversation, isn't it? So they're not gonna. No one's gonna push back.
No, of course.
Everyone's always gonna be. You did a great job. You kept Everton up. You did a great job. Because he's got the most unique circumstances of any Everton manager or a lot of managers ever. He had a points deduction that he had to deal with.
Yeah, and he did, well, to be fair, he did that really
and
well.
Nobody can ever take that. Like, no one can ever say, well, we've all done that. He has got the most unique, and that should get him, or should have got him another job by now. Really, those set of circumstances.
I know,
he might not.
I know Leicester didn't want him.
He might not. So those circumstances are, he can dine out on that forever, basically. And does that should get him in a room?
And it's up to him then, isn't it? Barry says, I read the Friedkin Group invested €50 million in Roma's academy after taking over. Do you know if they've made any investments in ours?
I mean, they put nearly 40 million into Everton last week. So, you know,
it's however it's used, isn't it?
It's however it's used. They have changed them. They have changed, obviously.
That was more. It was 46 million what they put in.
So they've already, let's be honest, they've changed all of the staff. So the staff will go in now to Everton's, to Finch Farm. And I imagine they'll tell them what needs to be changed. Because something needs to be changed. Something needs to be changed with our academy. It's been a disaster for 10 years. Ever since they got done for tapping up. It's been a disaster. So something needs changing. And I imagine there'll be a list, and the list will come with a lot of zeros at the end to what they've got to change. Better coaches. They just brought Nick Chadwick in, which is good. Obviously, there's a interview with Baz on More Than a Game to check that out. He was at Wrexham, he's moved back, so they're making changes immediately, and that will come with. So there mightn't be this thing of like here's a check of for what it'll be. The budget will just. The budget mightn't even have to go up. The budget might be already there.
Being staff.
And it'll just be a case of like, well, but getting a better fella in, or the budget just goes up organically. There doesn't have to be this mad number. It might just be different in Italy. Italy, what you've got to remember about Italy is that it's the football in a whole has been crumbling there for 25 years, hasn't it? They have barely anyone owns their own stadium, so the stadiums are a mess. They can't. A lot of the stadiums are owned by the councils and the local governments, so it's hard to build. Look at Roma having to build a new stadium. You can't find anywhere to build it because Rome is essentially a living museum. Both Milan clubs are struggling to get out of the San Siro. They don't make any money. The training grounds, therefore, probably can't be invested in properly because they haven't got money. So it probably does need is a big check. Everton will be now a thing where we will Finch Farm. They'll be looking at it every day. What can we better? How can the facilities be better? What do we need to build at Finch Farm? Finch Farm's developed so much since it originally opened, and different managers have different ideas. Roberto Martinez wanted sleep pods. Built the whole thing was built. Koeman came in and went, no. That's going to be for the first team players because I'm not having the first team players integrating with the academy players anymore. Now they've got their own separate wing. It's different. You know, there'll be stuff, won't there?
Nothing. He's coming in now, isn't he? From United, who's really highly rated. Who have done really well to grab. So, and he's been responsible for so much development. United, I believe he's fantastic. So it's up to him to. Yeah. It's up to him to do it now, isn't he? So fair play. Azar on the super chat says, hello fellas, hope you're good up the Toffees. I reckon we'll have Villa at the weekend. Just play all our new signings and let them all get a goal each and beat them about 20-0. Feels probably just slightly
it's optimistic,
unrealistic the scoreline, but why not? Just let's just have a good time. Let's just beat them. Let's just keep winning. Carl says, do you think Pickford will sign his new contract? Yeah. I do. I don't think there's any.
I think the fact that it got out in public basically suggests that it's already sorted.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be. Why wouldn't he sign it? Still playing for England. He loves it here. Don't see any other reason for him not to sign it, to be honest with you, mate. Ian says, afternoon lads and fellow Blues, glad to see you back fighting fit again. Ped, James's deadline day marathon wrecked them. These youngsters can't cope. Lads, I'm absolutely buzzing with our transfer window. Jack and Kiernan are revelations. Dibbling will get a chance, but Illiman ain't going anywhere at the moment. We are thriving. Moisey is a legend. Kev Maloney says, would you buy a team in Eastern Europe? It's not a skill, but it might make players more hard and get us into that market. No, because I don't know where. How can you send people to go there and then the quality of the league with development of players? It's got to be one where it's the players are going to develop. Because otherwise, it'll be no better than putting them in League Two. In some cases, will it? So. Kel says, hope you're feeling better, Ped, also known as the self-proclaimed hero.
I was the hero of last week. We all know that.
Blue Keeley says, Villa have just had time to clean their wounds. Either way, I'm feeling confident. Oh, do you mean without the break? Fair play. Brian says, with only having 2 strikers, injuries and suspensions will happen. Could we play a false 9?
Let's hope not.
Let's hope we don't have to. He's already said, and Jai and Dibbling can go through the middle as well. So, Benjamin says, I stand corrected, Pet. Arsenal bought the first £1 million player off the Reds. But Paris FC were the first Paris club, and PSG nicked their stadium, which is why Paris FC have built their stadium literally over the road.
Fair play to them.
Blue Jay says, on the multi-club conversation, would either of you have concerns about the Friedkins owning Roma as well as us? A bit too soon to say this, but let's say we qualify for the same European competition, we could find ourselves in a similar situation. Well, I'd expect Everton to fill in the form that Palace didn't bother to.
Yeah, but that question doesn't make any sense because they already do own Roma, so it doesn't really matter, does it? They already do own Roma,
and they are already in Europe.
And I imagine every single club secretary, right? Has been. Who is part of that has been alerted to that. Like there's a big massive memo on their desk saying you better check this.
Fill this form in.
Fill this form in and make
Even
sure...
if it looks unlikely we're getting into Europe.
Just fill this form in, or whoever, make sure that we're attached to a point where... And I don't even know right now whether... Okay, Dan Friedkin is on... He's our chairman and he's on our board. But I don't know whether that qualifies. I don't know the exact rules. I don't know whether that qualifies as the ownership.
No, but it's about distance.
That's what I'm saying.
Roundhouse Capital own Everton.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know whether having the same person, on two boards qualifies. I don't know the exact rules.
No, I haven't got a clue.
So they will though. They will, won't they? And if we come down to a time in March and April, Everton will make sure, and Roma, of course, will make sure that all the ducks in a row. Because let's be honest, there's so many clubs in Europe now that are multi-clubs that Palace are the first ones to fall foul of it.
Well, hang on, City owned Girona, and they were both in Europe. And Man
Played
United,
each other, didn't they?
Yeah, Man United and Nice.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about Palace have fallen out of it simply because they didn't fill the form in properly. So, Kev Maloney says, I could pick out a great driver in golf, but still it's 50 yards to the left. See what you've done there. And Jay says, surely we have to play Rule as we're obligated to buy him. We got to get him up to the standard. Well, he will play. He'll get games. They'll all get games. It's not a... This means you can never buy a player again. Doesn't it? If you like him, some fans would never want us to buy a player. I want us to buy a goalie better than Jordan Pickford. I want us to buy a striker better than Tierney Barry. I want us to buy a winger better than Jack Grealish or better than Illiman and Jai, because it means Everton are getting better and better and better. Don't worry about players. Are there to force their way into the squad.
Right.
Simple
so,
as.
our subs against Wolves. McNeil, Barry, Travers, Diblin, Coleman, Alcaraz, Irabunum, Armstrong and Onyango. So straight away, Armstrong and Onyango, they've gone. So straight away, you've got Roll goes straight into one of those places. And who else might be... Who was missing?
Patterson
can go on that bench as well. And then hopefully...
Then you've got two right-backs on the bench.
Or... Asnu might be on the bench.
Asnu, Brantwaite hopefully be back soon.
So it might be no Coleman and it could be Asnu. Or it could be no Patterson and it could be Asnu. But that's good. That's brilliant. And then Brantwaite comes back and suddenly you've got Michael Keane is on the bench. And suddenly your bench is like looking like a proper bench.
And
like,
you should have to fight to get on the bench. Yeah. Really. The ideal is your 9 subs are all, there's no drop-off in level. I mean, it's unlikely you're going to get that, but the drop-off isn't massive and you can piece it together. That's the key. Someone like Guardiola would want probably 6 players on his bench who were good enough to be starting in the first team without there being a drop-off at anything. And then the other 3 will be players who were good enough to be there, but are not good enough to be like guaranteed starters, but the level's still good. Because he said he likes a smaller squad. Slot said something about them with the quality 15, 16 of who can all fight for the first team. Then the other 3 are players who can play in it. No problem, because the levels around them are good enough and they're good players. You're never going to get 25 players of the same quality. No. Chelsea try to do it and theirs is all over the gaff, isn't it? If it clicks, it'll be perfect, but will it click? Who knows? So... our subs bench, people always say it. You hear Evertonians moan loads of times, the state of our bench. Well, it's getting to a good level now, so don't worry about it. Let them players fight and get in. If Roll can't get in enough to get the game time, then that's a failing on his behalf, isn't it? And the club for buying him. So it's about development. Same with Tyler Dibbling, same with Tierney Barry. But
then it becomes natural wastage as well. Then you are looking at Seamus Coleman going... There's a reason why he's not on the bench. He's 36. And it becomes that thing of like, you don't need to hang on to these players. And suddenly we have a decent team with a decent bench. And then you can start picking holes in whoever's on that bench then.
The thing is, players fall in and out of form.
They do.
There's
and
nothing
they get injured
worse
and they get suspended
than leaving a lad in. We just talked about Sean Dyche. Well, he left a lad up front who was woefully out of form because he didn't really have the balls to change it because he didn't like the other kid. Or he thought, well, if he plays, he can't hold the ball up, therefore we're in a bit. But he destroyed Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but he didn't do his confidence any good by leaving him in for 5 months when he was miles off it. Miles off it. So that's just one example. You have to look and go, he's not at it today, we're switching it. You know, Tierno Barry did really well against Brighton, was involved in the two, Everton's both, you know, the 2 goals, he was heavily involved, he done really well, really good link-up play, could have scored a couple of, you know, got his headers mistimed on 2. Played against Mansfield, was alright, didn't do anything special, but the Premier League was the one. Went to Wolves, he was out the team, Beto was in. Beto scores a goal, because he'd scored against Mansfield, but he was in. Beto started at Wolves, Barry had done okay, he's out the team. Well, Beto comes in, scores, is a handful, then comes off after an hour. He probably would have liked another 25 minutes on that pitch that day, Beto, but he's off. Yeah. Now Villa Saturday, will it be Beto? It probably should, because he's in the groove, but who knows, the manager might go, actually Barry's link up. And he even said, Moyes after Wolves, they'll be both getting changed. They'll be getting rotated. So we might all turn off Saturday, go, well, you know, on Saturday going, Beto will start because you're in good form, and Tierno Barry starts. So that's the way it is. It's got to be like that throughout the team. It won't, because you're never going to rotate your centre-backs for no reason, or your goalkeeper. But your forward players, ones who play on moments, and some energy in midfield, probably will be rotated. And you're right, we're starved of it for so long now. Because David says, why is everyone having a meltdown? Because we have good players on the bench. That's what it's all about. It's mind-blowing. But simply because we've not had this before, mate. We've not had this for a while, rather, where there's genuine options on the bench and there's good players on there. That's what we want. The flag has got injured. I will sort in a minute. Right.
Well, let me just...
Go on.
Liverpool, when they played Arsenal, their bench was Curtis Jones, Gomez, Chiesa, Endo, the goalie, Bradley Robinson, Harvey Elliott, and that Rio kid who scored at Newcastle. Yeah. And Arsenal's bench had who did they have on their bench? Sorry, hang on. They had Eze, Odegaard, Lewis Skelly, Trossard, Kepa was the goalie. You know, the quality there. Do you know what I mean? The quality in the team in both of their benches. That's what you know. That's what
City had Foden and Rodri on the bench. Danny said at Brighton last week.
City had City against Brighton. Doku, Diaz, Lewis, Ache, Kanji, Gundogan, Nico Gonzalez on the bench. Do you know what I mean? That's what you've got. That's what the top sides have. They have quality. You know, someone. Look at Villas. Just someone. Dean. Pau Torres. Bundia. I can't believe he's still there. You know, the teams at the top. You need a bench. You've got to have a bench. Azar on the super chat again says, here's a good question, lads. Do you think Moyes will stay past his contract 2 years? We've got him for, I think, and I would love him to stay if things go well this season and next.
Yeah. If he's doing the business. It's about what you put round you, isn't it? So he's got, Coleman's obviously going to join the coaching staff. Yeah. So he's a good age. Baines, still only 40 or something, and still plays like he's playing in the first team, as we saw the other week. So he's a good age. So why not? Why not? But it's about what we're doing. The Friedkins won't leave him, or they won't leave him in charge if he's not doing the business. But if he's doing the business and Everton are developing, why wouldn't he stay for another few years? You know, but you can never say never, but it's about results at the end of the day, isn't it? And if Everton are getting results and he's enjoying it and he's fit, which he is, then who knows? I mean, he might go in 2 years. Everton might be really, he feels like he's got them back where they're at a good place, and he might go, no, enough's enough now. I want to have a break and spend time with my wife or whatever. But then again, he might, if he's still fresh and hungry. Ferguson went on till he was 70, didn't he? 71.
Because of the people he put around him.
Because of the people he had around him. And, Roy Hodgson was 75 when he left Palace. I'm not saying Moyes wouldn't want to do it that long, but it's all about having people around you, though, who are the youth and the players can identify, and then you can pick, and work. But right now, he's only 62. He could do another 3 years and still be 10 years younger than Roy Hodgson when he left. So, again, like I say, it's if you can get young coaches who are good around you, and by all accounts, Leighton Baines is very good. Obviously, Billy McKinley's younger than Moyes, but he's got a wealth of experience. Seamus Coleman, I believe, has done more and more coaching and is enthusiastic and all that. So they're good people to have around you as well. And ultimately, that's what it is, isn't it? So, Phil says the Kevin Campbell's just given Page that £24,000. Yeah, it is unbelievable. It's an amazing effort. So thank you very much, everybody who donated and everyone who joined us and stayed with us through the night, and Fletch for being on the call in at 4:10 a.m. All of that. Azza says, much agreed, Baz, I don't know who we're going to replace him with when he does go, unless Baines takes over. Well, they'll be looking as well, won't they? And Moyes might have some input in that, but as long as he's fit, healthy and hungry, which he is right now, why we don't need to worry about it. But too much about, let's move on to the next thing. This is what cocked Everton up in the last 10 years since he left, really. Got to do the next one right, but right now, let's enjoy him. He's a good manager, getting results, so let's enjoy him. Tom says, Moyes said he wants to get the club back on solid ground, and hopefully a young buck comes in a few years and builds on that foundation. Yeah, that's what it's about, isn't it? All with everything's got to develop, hasn't it? And time, it is a young man's game. But if you are overseeing and tinkering because you've got those younger coaches, and
I think we forget that we're at the very start of something new, and Moyes is those safe pair of hands, isn't he, to help transition. A lot of there's some staff that didn't even start till last week or this week or whatever within the club, and there's people come into the club who there has to be a link between sort of the old and the new to bridge it all together and have those standards, and that's what Moyes is, for me, that's what Moyes is there for. If
we're talking about people who are good and good enough for the job, well, TFG put De Rossi in and sacked them either too early or they should never have got it. Whichever you do. Then they settled on Ranieri as the safe pair of hands. Ranieri's 74, I think, or something like that. And they replaced him with 67-year-old Gasperini, who's obviously he's been brilliant, hasn't he, at Atalanta. Fantastic. And he's gone in, and we'll see but he's a really good coach. So these will watch who's on the ball. If that person is on the ball, i.e. if David Moyes is still on the ball.
Gasperini's the best manager and one of the best managers in Serie A, wasn't he?
No, that's it. The age thing. So you look and go, okay. I mean, he won the Europa League, beat Xabi Alonso's unbeatables, didn't he? Battered them in the final at the age of 65 or something, whatever he was. So if they look at Moyes for the next few years and he's still right on it and Everton are doing well, why would they replace him? We've just got to make sure we're keeping an eye on the next thing, whoever that may be, whether that's Leighton Baines or whether it's Seamus Coleman or someone else who they've got their eye on, other people who are doing it and being there and up and coming. Steven Schumacher's openly said he wants to be an Everton manager. He's a manager in League One who knows in 3 years what he's doing, or is it someone who we don't even know about right now? Is it someone who's doing a great job elsewhere? European, who knows? But right now, there's no ageism from the Friedkin group. Moyes is 5 years younger than Gasperini. So let's just, like Pez just said, we are at the very start of this whole thing. Whereas, you know, he's taking us into a But put it this way, right? Ask yourself this: are you thinking differently as an Evertonian now as to where Everton can go than you were 12 months ago, even when he came in January? Because I know a lot of people who were going, we're in a different space.
What was the general consensus last week about the window? Because obviously, and I've got, like, people were flapping, and that's fine. You know, first game and stuff, people were really worried, and that's fine.
We were terrible that first half.
No, and I've got no issue. Terrible. I've got no, like, I wouldn't go to anyone and say, you know, because I still think there are elements. But what was the general? I
think overall, I think people were quite happy with it. I think people did say I think a lot of people give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, just quicker.
Someone gave like a 7 out of 10 and was like, and you could argue it, and they were right saying we didn't get pace, and that's what we needed, you know, and I agree with that. I totally agree with it. I was one who wanted.
No, 100%.
I wanted another winger and stuff, didn't I? But I think overall people looked at it and went, in general, it's been quite a good window. We brought 9 players in. Even when you just take the team out of the ones who've left and who've come in, Grealish and Dewsbury Hall are an upgrade on anything we had in that team a year ago, in 6 months, whatever. And Dyche's been brilliant on the right, as we knew he was. We haven't even had Jared Brandthwaite in there. You know, Mykolenko was his first start last week. So I think overall, you know, Tierno Barry coming in. So I think overall people were quite happy with it. There was gaps. People wanted the right back and some people wanted pace as well. And I couldn't argue with either of those things, with what people thought.
Yeah, I get that. No, I get that.
But I think overall, I think people were quite happy. Yeah. In general, not saying they were absolutely over the moon with it, but I think a lot of people.
Put it this way: our bench last season for our third game was Harrison Armstrong, Roman Dixon, Decore, James Garner, Beto, Lindstrom, João Virginia, Jake O'Brien, and Ashley Young. So, you know, definitely, we've definitely gone up, and the team itself was Pickford, Mykolenko, Keane, Tarkowski, Seamus Coleman, Jessica Gay, Tim Inabunum, and Dwight McNeil, Jack Harrison, and Calvin Lewin. Beto came on for the last 2 minutes. So squad wise, it's definitely we've definitely gone up.
Quality level, we replaced Jack Harrison, Jesper Lindstrom with Dewsbury, with Jack Grealish and say Dewsbury Hall if you want it, or in Dyche on the wing. That's a massive upgrade, isn't it? So just see. Danny says mine's an 8 out of 10. Got another striker and right back, it'd have been about 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, but I understand the manager as well saying, well, we've got Ndiaye, we've got Dibbling, you can go through there. That way, we're not eating into Tierno Barry's development. And then obviously it's up to Beto, isn't it? Yeah. The quality's gone right up, and that's where we're saying, right, now can we get another couple of in that just pad it out a little bit, or for me now it flips from what we've got to about quality now. Instead of needing 9 next summer transfer window, you look and go, well, we've got a budget there that can be spread on 3 or 4 quality that goes, boom, takes you up, and who knows what happens next summer as well. But I just think we're in a
we've got number place. One, we've got sellable assets, and there's less aging players.
No. Just very quickly, because there's 3 out of contract. Are you offering all 3 new ones? Tarkowski, James Garner, Micho? I know Jordan. He's already.
Common sense.
Yeah.
Just total common sense. James Garner and Mykolenko are in peak of their careers, and whether you think they're good enough or you don't think they're good enough, they're good enough for our squad.
James Garner's been really, and if he carries on at that level, he will be good enough.
He's been.
And Micho's a good defender. He's okay. The deficiencies at the other end, but he's got slightly better there. But we need more. Yeah. Tom says, is this Patterson's last chance, Saloon?
No, he's finished.
I think he'll be gone in January. I think the minute the first week of January comes, he'll be gone.
That's why I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed he never left because he's finished and also because he wanted to leave. And I just think his Everton career's over. I really do.
It's sad because he's got a lot of attributes that we'd love.
But he hasn't progressed because of the injuries and because he should have just been put in the team straight away, but he didn't think he was good enough. The situation at the football club has not helped. But the injuries have destroyed him.
Any momentum he built up, he keeps getting injured, doesn't he? Even this summer, he was playing all the games. West Ham, in Soldier Field, he goes and picks up an injury, doesn't he? And then he's been out since. And that's kind of how I'm not saying he'd have been in Moyes' first team, but he was at least playing, and the next minute the lad's injured. So, anyway. Right. Take it easy.
I want to press this button, but I don't know if it's
I think you're going to have to get up and go and turn it off. But thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, give us a subscribe if you haven't. And check out that Nick Chadwick interview on Inside the Game. He is back at Everton now, and will be part of the development of the new players. So go and listen to what he's got to say. Take it easy. See you all later.